ideologies and complexities, understanding systems and schemes through awareness and social reconstruction becomes expedient.
They never told you how you offended them?
I'm not on trial, so I can't go before.
Join the radio man, Edmond Obilo, on State Affairs for local and international politics, security, extensive economic analysis, interviews, and world power play.
Nigerians must choose the path they want to follow. Follow the same looters and sponsors of violence who control the political structures or encourage the formation of a new leadership team.
Be a global citizen and join the radio revolution on State Affairs. State Affairs with Edmond Obilo. Radio just got deeper. State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Good morning, the good people of Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. How are you or your state? Ibadan, happy to be with you again on a morning like this. It's a beautiful day here, and we started the show by playing you the song of Lucky Dube, Up with Hope. That's that song you just listened to. Up with Hope. Arise. Arise with Hope. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmond Obilo. I have titled this program, Lighting the Way. Love, Leadership, and National Renewal. It is a call to action. So as you settle down for the class, remember that there is a lot to learn. And from that learning, we can begin to impact our society. In my travels, in my research, my findings keep telling me that government is important in liberating a people. But more important are the values inherent in the character of the people. I then ask, if government does not become that exemplary leadership it ought to be, what role can the people play to save the land? So I have found some answers, and I'm going to discuss them with you as we go in this class. Remember, the theme of today's class is lighting the way, you becoming a light. Love, leadership, and national renewal. Under this topic, we will look at the character of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu government. Under this topic, we will talk about visionary leadership, and we will use Singapore as an example. The young leader, Biola Adeoye, is a guest on the show. I want to tap into his experience, his journeys. I want him to help the class explain his understanding of inspiring leadership. It's also a class of history. So there will be historical excursions. We'll go to Italy. We'll go to Germany. We'll come to Nigeria. The essence is to use history to interpret the behavior of the state. The program also understands that you are key to the class. So your voice matters. So get ready to express yourself, either through text or through the power of your voice. So that is why the program is being streamed on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. So you can join the program on any of these platforms. Leave your comments. It's a discourse. Let's talk. Let's talk. The program is also being streamed on State Affairs app. On State Affairs app. So if you don't have the app on your phone, you can download the app on Google Play Store and iOS. You can also listen to the program on Radio Garden. Search for Splash FM on Radio Garden. The program is running on Radio Garden. You can also listen on Splash FM website. So collect your ideas as we go. How do you feel this morning? You know, what occupies your mind? To those enduring economic hardship and the failings of leadership, let me remind you that this is a time to remind ourselves of the power that no external force can take from us. And what is that power? It is love. I'm talking about the power of love. I keep looking at certain societies, and the conclusion is clear. No society develops without some sound philosophical foundation that is based on values like love. In fact, love is the biggest of the values for national development. If you are a Christian, remember, Jesus Christ said, love your neighbor as yourself. What did he say? Did he say the biggest commandment? In the face of frustration, uncertainty, and despair, love remains our greatest weapon. It is not a passive feeling, but a transformative force capable of lifting individuals, families, and entire nations. Are you in this class? As you rise each day, greet that day with love. With love in your heart. You see, practice what I'm going to tell you, and you will see what will happen to you. That sometimes your frustration can be defeated by the power power of your mind. Let love be the foundation upon which you rebuild your life and community. No matter how difficult the circumstances, love can soften hearts, heal wounds, and ignite hope. It is stronger than any weapon or policy, for love opens doors to the dialogue, understanding, and unity. I have been to certain places that I'm not ready to talk about now, in search of what I call a leadership code for Nigeria's development. A code we are developing that will transcend the mundane level of politics being played at the moment. That code. And finding answers also requires some level of solitude, some level of depth, of critical thinking, of intense rise to certain consciousness. Say, listen, open your mind as we talk in this class. I'm telling you that this law works, and I will give you examples. A heart full of love has far-reaching impact, touching the individual, the family, and the entire nation in transformative ways. What does love do to the body? I'm going to discuss this love from now to the end of the show. I'll just be linking it to different subjects as we go. You see, your physical well-being matters. You see, love, when you are full with love, for younger persons listening to me, when you are in love with somebody, there's this feeling of joy that pervades your system. When you are in love with an environment, like when you go into a beautiful environment, there's this serenity that comes. There's this feeling of calmness that evades you. You see, that feeling is powerful. When they say love is blind, when you are in love, you see good. Your mind begins to lighten up. You see good. A society where there is constant violence, insurgency, corruption, election rigging, it is not a society of love. A society where people steal power, snatch it, run with it. It is not a society of love. No matter the policy, the initiative, no matter how concretely written the policy is, it will not work. So you can see the Nigerian state over time, different policies, different government, it is not working because the policies must be built on certain moral code for it to work. You can't steal power, kill people because you want power, and then come and say you will redeem that society. No. The killing already brings in some negative attribute into society that will counter whatever good you want to do with policy. So at the end of the day, you will struggle and you will be saying the same thing from the first year to the last year. It's after you now leave office, you begin to ask, why couldn't I implement this? those your character inherent in your politics, I've already introduced counter actions that will work against whatever policy you bring. That is why society must be built on certain code. And it is the men who build such code that are defined as great. If you read Awolowo, you would understand the kind of code I'm talking about. Hey, we are moving gradually in this class. It's about love. It's about love. Let me know if you are in class. Let me know if you are in class. Let me hear a voice to tell me that, Radio Man, I am in class this morning. So you can call me on WhatsApp. You call me on WhatsApp 08039 18449. That is 08039 18449. Let me know if you are in class. Edo State people are going to the polls today. If you follow the bickering, the argument and the counter argument from the governor, from the APC side, you see a politics devoid of love. So at the end of the day, on a good day, Obaseki is a brilliant man. Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State, is a brilliant man. I've gone through his CV. He's struggling for development, like many states in Nigeria. You don't see, I have not gone to any state in Nigeria where you just drive in and you feel that calmness of a developed society. It's the same story, bad roads, rowdy traffic, motor parks, roads being turned to motor parks, disorderly society. When you see that, it's a sign that the society is devoid of love. Love is calm. That's why when you drive into Tokyo, in Japan, there is this feeling of love. When you drive into certain developed societies, the way their environment are beautiful, it talks about certain level of love. It's never absolute, but it should be domineering. So, I await your call on WhatsApp 080 999 18449. That's the number to call for me to hear your voice. I was talking about what love does to the body. You see, when there is love, there are certain hormones it releases within you, and it will reduce stress and promote happiness. When you love your wife, you love your children, when you love your husband, there's that feeling that comes. A loving heart reduces the emotional burden of anger, resentment, and fear, leading to mental clarity and emotional stability. Yes. I can make this point from my study of certain old persons. I told you I like old persons, especially when they are brilliant. And when I'm talking about brilliant, it's not about PhD. You can be locally intelligent. It's not about the grammar you speak. The ideas you speak. Okay, somebody's in class. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Edmond.
Yes, your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning, Edmond.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Alabi Kayode.
Mr. Kayode, good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much. Well, love. I believe the society we find ourselves, majority of the people are very angry. We are angry. We are angry with government. We are angry with ourselves. Even in the family, there's no happiness. People are hungry, and you know, an hungry man is an angry man. Society that is not free of violence, society that you cannot eat 3 square meals per day, that kind of society cannot really experience love. However, I think happiness is from within. Nobody can make you happy except yourself. I think the moral lesson is from the family. A child who is not happy from home will not go out into a society and show happiness. As the going used to say, there are children who are brought up with love. There are children who are brought up with violence. But it's difficult to be born and rebirth yourself. Most of the moral lessons we all grow up with start from our family. I think as parents, as teaching our children, we should be able to instill in their mind how to relate to people with love, with respect. Society is so full of bad people. So when you even go out there and you are bringing love from your house, people tend to show you negative vibe. But in all, God is love. Whether you're a Christian or a Muslim. I think if we have love, if we show ourselves love in this country, I think things will get better. I think things will get better. But it begins with you and I. Yes, we will go to government, but it begins between you and I. Your environment is dirty, your estate is dirty. What value are you contributing from within your house, within your premises, within your area, before you now state your local government, your state at large? It has to come from within. So the change begins from you and I. As a leader, as a vice chancellor, as a managing director in the company, begin to show true love. When they see that this person does not give room for bad governance, for corruption, automatically people under you will change. It will take time. Because you know what, Edmund? If a minister does not do with permanent secretaries, they will not last long. The civil servants are the real thieves. They are the one who teach politicians how to steal money. So if you are not very, very strong in Nigeria as a politician, the civil servants will kick you out. They won't let you achieve anything.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, let's make it brief. No, let's hit the nail on the head so that we can take enough calls. 2 minutes is fine. Okay? 2 minutes is fine. Thank you for that call. Thank you for that message. Super. Thank you. I was talking about old persons. You know, I've observed that certain persons who feel loved, who give love, also tend to live longer. They live healthier lives. You see it, they are full of smiles. When you see your leader and you are full of anger, there is something wrong with the love in that leader. Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Hello.
Your name and where you are calling from.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning.
I cannot hear you.
All right. Thank you for calling the radio station. Just keep trying. The act of giving and receiving, the act of giving and receiving love enhancing one's sense of purpose. It promotes vitality. Try it. Try it. Fill your heart with love. You will not be seeing hardship. You will find a way of navigating through life legitimately through the power of your mind. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Oladunjoye here from Ibadan.
Go ahead and make your point, sir.
Are you here? Are you hearing me, please?
I can hear you.
You hear me? You are hearing me?
All right, thank you for calling the radio station.
Yes. For the first time, I moved to make one or two contributions to your program. I love it. Now, because of the time, I want to say that this nation has gotten to a point where we all have to look back. You see, I keep saying it. It is you and I that makes this nation. If we keep on blaming certain people for this or that, you see, let's go back to our homes. If a father is not responsible, he will not have responsible children. Earlier, you spoke to the professor who was talking about this issue of making youths. Youths have to be this, youths have to be there. Who are these youths? Who are the youths? Even when you talk of women, there are places where you put women, they are worse than men. You see, the reality is that we have gotten to a point where we must all go back and look at ourselves. Charity begins from home. I remember some years back, I attended a school, a federal government college, where we were not paying school fees. We were not paying for anything. Everything was free. That was during Shagari regime. And that same school is there till today. They pay for even the air they breathe. What are we saying? Are those leaders, or were those leaders not human beings? Until our attitude goes away from the issue of, I want to have everything. Why must you have everything here? Have you ever seen anybody who carried anything to heaven? No. It's unfortunate that we keep blaming people. Look at yourself first. Are you taking care of your home? Are your children faring well? Why must you have 6 children when you can cope with just 2? You see, it's just a pity that we find ourselves in this. But I pray that God will help us, because it's just a pity that we all look at, government is not, there is no government that can do anything better, whether we like it or not. We must address our issues from home.
Thank you.
God will help us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm feeling the class. Let's calm down. This lecture will not penetrate if you are filled with pain. Throw your burdens down as you listen to this class. Calm down and begin to have deeper reflections. What does love do to the family? You see, when there is love in the family, there's this strong bond that you feel. Love creates an atmosphere of trust, respect, and open communication within the family. In the leadership code we are working on, the family is the primary core of society. will pay a lot of emphasis on family. Family as an agent of development. In this code, poverty will be on the run, because where love reigns, light shines. Where light shines, hunger goes away. The intense hunger in the Nigerian state is a product of hate. Hey, I will connect the dot as I go. It's a long lecture. We will link it. Society is on the path of redemption. Have no fear. This class is part of that road to redemption. Arise and shine. You see, love nurtures deeper connections, allowing family members to support each other through challenges and celebrate together in times of joy. Love your wife. Love your husband. Love your children, your sisters, your brothers. Family. Family is beautiful. Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
I can hear
Hello?
you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Benga. I'm calling from Limerick in Highland.
Benga, the ball is in your court.
It's a very good topic that you are discussing this morning, and I really want to appreciate you for your consistency, for the topics you bring to class all the time. They are enlightening us and teaching us so many things that ordinarily you cannot learn all this stuff in the school. And people that you can even feel it from the voice of the people that are calling sound angry, frustrated. The hardship in the country, things are very, very difficult for people. And they say that an hungry man is an angry man. A man that have not eaten, that is hungry. How do you want that kind of person to love another person? So, of course, charity begins at home, but that is the home that people have something to eat. So I pray that things will get better for Nigeria, and everything will be all right. But I appreciate your program. You are doing you are doing a very, very fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for calling the radio station. At 8:50, we'll take a break, so that you can sip some water. Always have water by your side as we talk politics, as we talk power, as we talk history. I'm talking about the effect of love on the family. It brings emotional stability. Even from the way you talk when you are in the cab, it speaks about what is going through you. The way you react, even as a manager, as a governor, as a senator. Africa is in dire need of love. A loving environment provides emotional security for both children and adults. If you look at our primary schools, our secondary schools, the way they are, it is not a conducive environment. If you go to schools like that, at some point, it will affect your self-esteem. In my journeys, I have visited some primary schools in some countries. And I am marveled. You see a primary school. You see, that kind of environment imbues in the child the spirit of innovation, patriotism, love. You don't even need to travel to these countries. You can Google, just go search primary schools in Korea, in Japan, in Singapore. Just Google. I'm not talking about Europe. Go to Asia. That is my emphasis is on Asia and even Africa, not really Europe. Search and see. Then you will understand why our leaders are not imbued with love. If they were imbued with love, we will not have such primary schools and secondary schools. Because you see, these same leaders, their children don't school in those schools. They won't dare to send their children there. Because they know what a good environment does to the mind. So they can pay anything to send their children to beautiful schools. And they come to tell you they love you. Since 1999, go to primary schools around the country. It's the same story. Go and search for public schools in America. Public schools, look at their classrooms. You see, I'm not talking about absolute love. There is no absolute love. There's some level. But when love is domineering, you see good roads, good healthcare facilities. But the point that this class is driving at, that it's not just the effort of government. It is more an effort of family. Because the leaders are also product of families. Right? The so-called leaders did not fall from the sky. They came from families. Okay? See, when there is love, it builds self-esteem, reduces feelings of isolation, and fosters personal growth. A heart full of love models compassion, patience, and empathy for the next generation. You won't destroy the resources of today because you'll be thinking of the generation to come. That is why you go to developed countries, they are thinking of 100 years ahead. But here, they are thinking of today. They destroy everything today. They are not looking ahead. What would the children to come live on? So they borrow, squander, and squander. When they squander the resources of the state, that means they are not futuristic. They have no love. But you must not live that kind of life. In the marketplace, wherever you are, imbue yourself with love. You see something will be happening to your life. Yes, one of the callers said that even when you show love, it is being resisted. You see, love is always admired. When you are driving, you are on the road, and another driver is coming out from a street. He has been there. You see, just try and stop and tell him, yeah, you move, come in, hit the road. You see, there's this smile on the face of that driver that you care about him. Say, okay, you just stop. Yeah, you move in, move. There's that feeling. People accept love. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
My name is yes, sir. My name is Mashudu Shegun.
Shegun, good to hear.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to hear you this morning. I'm one of your fans, and I'm happy to hear what you are going to contribute to to the subject matter. I've been wondering, and in fact, I know that the love is not there, and from the history, I've realized that there is no love in our dictionary, because if we look at it before we are colonized, we have seen that we have been enslaving ourselves. Through that, we will see that that love is not there. That's why it is easy for an external to to colonize us, and for the foreigners, for the whites to colonize Africa. This love has not been, we are just hypocrites. We are just deceiving ourselves. We are demonstrating as if we love ourselves, but we are within ourselves. We know that this country, it is because what we have learned from our background, from our parents. We have not, we don't inherit, we don't imbibe that culture. That's why it's affecting us. That's why we are making products of bad leaders, because they are not what they have not been learned, what they have not been practiced since the beginning, and they arrive. What do you expect them to do? That's the same thing. What we are sowing, that's what we are reaping. I just said it. I told my pastor. I said we are hypocrites. We think we are serving God, but we are just deceiving ourselves. Even if you are not, you don't love your one another. We are not. We are. You don't love God. We are not serving God, because Bible says that love God, and love your neighbor. But I think we are hypocrites in this country.
All
May
right.
God help you in Jesus' name. May God increase your.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for calling.
Hello.
Yes, Tony. Adeyemi, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, topic we're discussing this morning. It's something that I have so much interest in, which is why I tried as much as possible to call him. You see, have you noticed that since you started the program this morning, I am sure that I'm the first woman to call. Or do we have any? Or has any other woman called?
You are the first.
I'm the first woman. So, you were talking about the need for love in families, and I want to start from when we were in school. I know that, and I can remember very well that the best student in my class from 100 level to 400 level was a lady. I can still remember her name very well, Linda Uboye. And I know that the trend is the same. I'm not saying that women are more brilliant than men, but we have so many intelligent women, not only even across board, not just talking about our academic institutions now. But why will we be having this kind of intelligent conversation and you'd have just few women call in? You know, you were talking about the place of love in women's lives, not just in women's lives anyways, in our lives, in families, and how it brings out the best in you, which is the way I want to interpret it. So when that love is lacking, there's a way that, you know, you can't even have that courage to showcase your intelligence, because there's that part of you that wants validation from the person that you feel that should be at the forefront of cheering you on, you know. And when that is lacking, you know, and to tie this to development issues, there's so much that women can bring to the table, because that's my own focus in this conversation. And we can see it even in our society. Yes, women are doing well, but have you seen people like Okonjo Iweala and some other women like that who have good men in their lives? You can see the difference, you know. And so I believe so much in what you're saying this morning, and I agree with you. And it is another part. I don't know if I have a few time to talk about that one. It's not going to.
All right.
That I also want to. Yes, I want to call on well-meaning individuals, there are people who ordinarily would probably want to show that love, but they are incapable of showing it because of their childhood trauma, because of the background they came from. Like someone was saying, we are so much impoverished in Nigeria to the extent that even a man that wants to show love to his wife cannot show it. And then the product of that marriage, you know, someone who's coming from a background of domestic violence, who has never really experienced love, and how do we teach our children how to love? Is it not when a man shows his wife or a woman shows the husband love that the children can also emulate that love? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. But if that is lacking, and then the child probably, grows up and then starts a family, and the cycle continues. But if you have well-meaning individuals, because I want to stop calling on government to do all things, who would establish places where people can go for therapy, for free? Because therapy is not cheap. Therapy is not cheap, and a lot of people need it. So if people can get therapy, subsidized or preferably free in this kind of society that we find ourselves, it will go a long way, and it will help us as a society.
Thank you,
Edmond, for bringing this to the forefront this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Tui. Thank you. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmond Obilo. Take some sip from your cup of water. I'll be back.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Bush Radio. Bush Radio.
Your real talk radio.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
After Bako had been killed, Buhari was made head of state, he would have been the head of state because he was the leader of the coup. He was the most senior, was one who went to actually to accost Shagari to arrest him. So Bako was killed. If Bako had not been killed, Bako probably would have been the head of state. And then they had a compromise candidacy in Buhari. And I think, if my recollection is correct, it was at that point in time planned or arranged that certain characters will take over from Bako after 4 years, another will take over from that person, another will take over from that person, and that if Christians made the noise, then the Christian, like Dogonyaro, would take over in the 14th year or 12th year to run to 16th year.
Let me get it clear.
Yes.
Was it that Buhari was going to rule for 4 years, then Babangida 4 years, and then Abacha 4 years?
Yes, something like that.
And you knew that Buhari was going to be overthrown?
Not that I knew. These things are not documented. I could have known. I wasn't a military guy. I wasn't in the military.
You remember you were at a polytechnic in Abeokuta?
Yes, I was there.
What did you say there?
I was a guest speaker, and because of the noise being made here and there, and I quote myself that, ladies and gentlemen, that you shouldn't be surprised if you hear again, I Brigadier Sana Abacha.
What were you trying to tell the students?
That probably we have not come to the full stop, that what we had was just a comma, and that another military personnel could intervene and overthrow Buhari at that point in time.
Chief Adeni, you were an instrument in the hands of some members of the political class and the military to overthrow General Muhammadu Buhari.
No, I wasn't an instrument. I couldn't have been an instrument. How could I have been an instrument? I was just a common, simple journalist with a lot of political fervor, journalist with a lot of activism, but I couldn't have been an instrument.
Remember, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yes, so if it was the pen, yes, my pen could campaign for overthrow of a government. My pen could campaign, could initiate or engineer a revolt, but not that I was instrument in the hands of any political class. I couldn't have been.
Did you write against Buhari?
Incidentally, no. I mean, I was a columnist in Punch. Even when he detained my friend Al-Rashid Aruna Damu and another friend, I could only appeal to him. And I didn't support Decree 4 at that time, but I was not particularly antagonistic to Buhari, even when he was head of state. I cannot recollect any of my articles in Punch then, where I was a columnist, openly or blatantly attacking Buhari.
You are an acidic writer.
Yes, I've always been.
Why didn't you attack Buhari?
When he took over, Nigeria was disenchanted with the NPN government. And I was disenchanted with the NPN government. And I gave that party and the political class at that point in time hell in the kind of things I was writing in the Tribune, especially my column Till Death Do Us Part, 6 columns a week on that title with other 2 other columns I was writing, 8 columns every week, attacking MPN and being very acidic, as to use your word. So when Buhari then took over, we thought that things were going to be normalized and that a new phase of life was coming up, and Nigeria had a new lease of life. So I did not do anything I wrote all.
Here we go.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Okay. I have a comment here. It's from Kewe Lasky. Kewe Lasky. He says we need love as humanity. But a radio man, where national issues are discussed, being emotive and bringing sentiment takes secondary position for ideological and philosophical reasoning. Kewe Lasky says the UK is 4 countries. Great Britain is 3 countries. Britain is 2 countries, but we don't know this. He says we should define Nigeria and stop hoping love should do it for us. We need nationalistic and Pan-Africanist mentality to get our pride of place in the world. I don't need Tinubu, for example, to love me. I just need him to have self-esteem. Kewe, self-esteem is a product of love, the love of oneself. So if you love yourself, it will now reflect on your actions. Remember, Kewa, I made a point that love leads to mental clarity and emotional stability. You said we need nationalistic and Pan-Africanist mentality. It is a product of love for you to think clearly. You see, why are certain persons resisting the redefinition of Nigeria, what some have called restructuring, ideological repositioning? It is because of the hate in them. Because of hate, they think of themselves alone because they are benefiting from the system. So they are resisting every effort to recreate the system to serve the common good. Okay, well, I recommend you go and read about Japan. Read about the American Constitution. Don't just read it on the basis of, Constitution 1. If you read the works of the men who redefined America, if you read their letters, you will find the code of freedom and liberty in their letter. They based it on the concept of freedom and liberty. And freedom and liberty is the product of the rule of law. The rule of law is about justice. Justice is about love. Justice is about peace. Peace is love. Don't just look at love as one abstract concept. Code it. That is why in the leadership class that will come, you see the effect of coding. If you study Confucianism, even what Xi Jinping is doing in China, if you go and study it, it is based on certain concept. There was a concept Awolowo talked about, the Omoluabi concept. Omoluabi. It is a concept that you must anchor a nation on. But whatever you call the concept, they are all tied to love. That is why love is fundamental. Just have your home. When there is no love, there won't be peace in your home as a man. It will affect your children. Before you know it, you begin to punch your wife. Your wife begins to punch you. Your children go to school and become bullies. They won't be able to learn. That thing that is happening in your family is a reflection of the nation. You see, if you go to cities now, to towns, we have accepted the Yahoo Boy syndrome. We have accepted it. So a lot of young persons are opening nightclubs in different cities. Who are they attracting? They are attracting the Yahoo boys who are fraudulent. The Yahoo boys are investing a lot in the music industry. They are fraudulent. As long as they are fraudulent, society will remain chaotic. You see the way they drive on the road when they are with their cars. You see the way they behave. You see, their actions have led to younger persons going into rituals. If your heart is imbued with love, you won't want to cheat somebody of his money. You wouldn't do that. You know, even religion has failed in the concept of love. You know, where the general overseer becomes so rich, why majority of the congregation languish in poverty. So, as I talk about love, I will also go into politics. I've talked about the effect of love on family. A nation filled with people who lead with love becomes less divided. Love fosters understanding, tolerance, and cooperation among groups, reducing conflict and building a foundation for peace. Those are the points I make. You know, social justice and equity. When leaders and citizens alike are driven by love, they prioritize fairness, justice, and the well-being of all. You can even see that the courts in Nigeria are losing the power to bring justice because the hate in the land has pervaded even the courts. That somebody can steal, kill, and tell you go to court. Because in a society of hate, the court becomes an instrument in the hands of those filled with hate, and they use it as a platform of oppression. That society is gradually riding itself towards anarchy. You can see what bandits are doing in the north. Because when I read about bandits, the actions, as I investigate, I get worried. I say, okay, I'm not going to bring this on radio. Because I investigate the intricacies. I'm calling people, I'm calling military men. I say, what's going on? By the time you get what they are saying, you see the bandits are controlling territories. And by the time you see what is going on ground, involving political leadership, involving leadership of security agencies, involving politicians, involving businessmen, I just said, okay, it's a society where the leaders hate their country. Say, look at this. I don't know if you've read about Mahatma Gandhi. These men are not perfect men, but they were men who were trying to work towards perfection. You see, love was the core of his political struggle in India. Mahatma Gandhi is one of the most revered leaders of the 20th century. He led India to independence through a philosophy deeply rooted in love. Gandhi believed in ahimsa. Look at that word, ahimsa. These are philosophical leaders. They're not just people who just pop up from nowhere because they just discovered some billions. Leadership have become so monetized that deep thinking does not matter. You just find some billion somewhere through Yahoo, through ritual, yes, sometimes through illegitimate businesses, and sometimes through legitimate businesses. And because you have the money, all of a sudden the next thing that comes to your mind is that you can become a political leader. You have not built any philosophy. Yes, billionaires can become good leaders, but it must be anchored on certain philosophies, not just because you are a billionaire. So you just make some money, oh, I want to go to the Senate. Because the Senate has become a platform for you to express hate, get a lot of money, begin to grow hate, influence young persons to ride on that platform of hate, and society becomes more chaotic. So political leadership has become that platform to steal for self-enrichment. Normally, it should be business and innovation that should create wealth. But you now think of politics as a tool to create wealth for yourself, instead of creating wealth for society by tapping into the innovation and brilliance of the citizens, regulating it for national development. Gandhi believed in ahimsa, or what is called non-violence. He believed in ahimsa as the highest form of love. In the face of British oppression, he chose not to respond with anger or violence, but instead with peaceful resistance driven by his love for the oppressed and his desire for a just society. Gandhi's love for his people and his unwavering belief in the power of truth united millions across religions, ethnic, and social divides. Gandhi inspired civil disobedience without hatred, understanding that love, not force, would lead to lasting national renewal. His leadership brought India to freedom and set an enduring example for nations around the world. When leaders lead with love, societies thrive and lasting peace is possible. Remember, it is not absolute. Sometimes the effect takes a century, sometimes 50 years, sometimes 20 years. It depends on the social structures of that society. So you can say Gandhi is a philosophical king. After independence, yes, violence broke out in India. But they had the clarity of mind to say there was no need keeping Pakistan with India. Let Pakistan go. And after some time, Pakistan divided. Bangladesh left. They had that clarity of mind to say, no, we can't stay together. Still talking about the concept of love, but let me digress into another subject, but under the same concept. Not too long ago, a faction of Afenifere, that is the Yoruba Socio-Cultural Group, led by Payo Adebanjo, raised concerns over what it calls a slide towards fascism under President Bola Tinubu's administration. Justice Faloye, the National Publicity Secretary of Afenifere, expressed this concern in an interview. Faloye points to the harassment of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC president and the detention of individuals protesting hunger as signs of growing authoritarianism in the Tinubu era. Afenifere criticized Tinubu's government, accusing it of clamping down on peaceful protest, arresting journalists, and jailing political opponents. Drawing a parallel with the days of General Sani Abacha, Faloe, the publicity secretary of Afenifere, warned that Nigeria is inching closer to a dictatorial regime. Let me quote him. He says, "We are concerned about how this administration is going. Not only is the NLC president being harassed, but we have hundreds of people in jail for treason for partaking in hunger protests." He continues, "We have criminalization of protest under Tinubu, where peaceful protesters are threatened, harassed, attacked, arrested, and detained unjustly. What do you call all these other than fascism?" It is that word fascism that interests me here. Is fascism love? This statement by Afenifere, is it a product of love from the Ayo Adebanjo faction of the group? Yes. So as we delve into this aspect of the analysis, I will raise some questions. He says even the international community has accused Tinubu of criminalizing peaceful protest in a democratic dispensation and condemned the trend. He's talking about the Trade Union Congress of Britain condemning Tinubu's action, the arrest of Joe Ajero, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. So Afenifere says we are sliding into fascism. Fascism. Shoyinka likes using that word too, fascism, fascist tendency. Fascist. Who is a fascist? Is Tinubu a fascist? In an interview I had with human rights advocate Femi Aborishade, he alludes to the position of Afenifere and others who are accusing the Tinubu government of dictatorship. Femi Aborishade on state affairs.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo.
Okay, I think that insert is refusing to play. I'll work on it. But still discussing the subject. The statement by Afenifere accusing Tinubu of sliding into fascism raises significant concerns about governance, democracy, and civil liberties in Nigeria. The group's warning reflects a broader dissatisfaction with Tinubu's government, accusing it of stifling dissent and criminalizing peaceful protest. But is that what Tinubu really stands for? I remember that on June 12 this year, the president talked about democracy. He defined democracy. He pledged to be a Democrat of all times. He even said that we should defend our democracy. Is it fair to say that President Tinubu is a fascist? Is it fair to define the president as a fascist? These are the issues to raise on this edition of State Affairs. You see, I'm having some technical difficulties here, but it's not a big one. It just means I should restart the system. So that is what is going on. So I'll play you this while I work on the system. Bosun?
You can go back on your script about is Tinubu a fascist? By that time, it's already breaking, so I just brought it down.
Okay, okay.
He was detained, obviously, because he was released the same day. So he was detained, obviously, because they didn't want him to have the opportunity to go and address an international audience to expose the repression that is going on in Nigeria. Unprecedented repression.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Welcome back. I was talking about Femi Aborishade. Now let's listen to that interview.
He was detained, obviously, because he was released the same day. So he was detained, obviously, because they didn't want him to have the opportunity to go and address an international audience to expose the repression that is going on in Nigeria. Unprecedented repression. I can say authoritatively that not even in many cases, except in very few cases, which involved President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was also charged for treason. In many other cases, the military regimes did not charge us, with treason. Military regimes did not charge us when we were protesting with terrorism. In other words, this regime is worse than military dictatorship, because the only difference between military dictatorship and democracy is freedom, is the right to enjoy fundamental freedoms. When the freedom of expression is taken away, when the freedom of action is taken away, what remains is enslavement. And then the protesters are not being charged with offenses that carry death penalty. So this regime, from the charges, in the court against peaceful protesters, is worse than military dictatorship. And we call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to withdraw those charges.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Do you agree with Femi Aborishade that what is going on is worse than military dictatorship? Do you agree? Tinubu talks about democracy. Tinubu talks about the rule of law. So let's go back to the president June 12, 2024 broadcast to the country.
We have studied the course. Democracy is neither a foreign nor abstract concept devoid of real-life meaning for us. Neither can we afford to reduce or minimize it to being nothing but the mere holding of periodic elections where one candidate and party outdo another. While elections attract democratic attention, they are but one aspect of democracy. Democracy is a way of life that encompasses a broad outlook of which elections are but a part. As such, a nation can have elections without being democratic, but a nation cannot be truly democratic without holding elections. That we have established a tradition of holding transparent, open, and fair elections gives credence to our democratic standing. That we have experienced peaceful transitions of government affirms our democratic temperament. Fellow Nigerians, true democracy shined its light on the daily lives of the people who live under its nurturing wings. The order of the day, given the diversity and variety of the human experience, there must be diversity and viewpoints. What democracy demands is that we do not resolve differences through force and repression, but to make allowance for the legitimacy of views that differ from
Yes, that is President Bola Tinubu there. Did he sound like a fascist? Did he? Did the president sound like a fascist there? Now, Afenifere has accused the government of sliding towards fascism. That reference is politically loaded. Does it indicate an alarmist view of the current trajectory of Tinubu's administration? Fascism, historically associated with dictatorial control, suppression of opposition, and centralized power, evokes a scenario where civil liberties are curtailed and the government becomes intolerant of dissent. Is that what is going on? By invoking this term, Afenifere is online to see. All right. That's the picture of Benito Mussolini. Look at his face. Look at his cap. Does that cap look like Tinubu's cap? Who is this Benito Mussolini? Why am I talking about him now? Benito Mussolini was born in 1883 in Italy. He was a key figure in the rise of fascism, a political ideology that reshaped Italy and had a profound impact on world history. Mussolini, who initially began his political career as a socialist, eventually abandoned these ideas and became the founder of fascism, a far-right authoritarian movement that sought to create a powerful, centralized state with a single ruler and a unified nationalistic agenda. Is that what Tinubu's government is sliding towards? You see, I'll open the line soon. I want to hear from you. Because the government is being defined. The government is being defined. You heard Femi Aborishade there, defining the government. Is this what we are sliding towards? As we look at this, pick your pen and take more note. Under Benito Mussolini's leadership in Italy, fascism became one of the most influential political ideologies of the early 20th century, particularly during World War II. In 1919, Mussolini founded the Fasci Italiani de Combattimento, a nationalist movement that combined elements of nationalism, militarism, anti-communism, and authoritarianism. You can see the nisms. Mussolini's message resonated with many Italians, particularly veterans of World War I, who felt betrayed by the democratic government of the time. So they became disillusioned by Italy's economic struggles. Obviously, Nigeria is going through economic struggles. During period of economic struggles, what happens to political ideas? What happens to political philosophies during political struggles? Because it is during periods of economic hardship, severe ones, that sometimes the economic and political goals of nations are redefined. Is Tinubu trying to redefine Nigeria positively or negatively? Your answers will help. Mussolini's fascism rejected the principles of liberal democracy and socialism. Mussolini advocated instead for a single party state led by a strong dictator. You know, PDP is in crisis at the moment. PDP at the national level is in crisis. The Labour Party is in crisis. Some are saying that Tinubu is using Wike to engineer the political crisis in the PDP, perhaps so that the party will collapse. Because if you listen to Wike's utterances, and working in the Tinubu government and making such utterances will provide ground for this kind of analysis. And as he makes the utterances, it is clear that Wike still remains powerful within the PDP. He still has some governors on his side. In fact, he still controls the National Working Committee of the PDP. So Wike is an insider in the APC, an insider in the PDP. Wike is causing political crisis in Rivers State. Is Tinubu using Wike to destroy the PDP so that APC becomes a single party, then leading to dictatorship? Because as we stand, there is no opposition at the national level. Now there is crisis in the Labour Party. We don't know the direction it will take. Is Tinubu behind this crisis? Because if you studied what happened in Italy, what happened in Germany, Nazism, you see this crisis sometimes can be engineered by a leader who is looking towards hijacking power. You saw how Tinubu intervened in the local government and disarmed the governors. He has made the governors weaker, but he has made the president stronger. That is another side of looking at it. Has he made the people stronger? Will the people be able to control the local government chairman? It is time that will tell. As we run down this analysis, get ready to express yourself. I'm still talking about Benito Mussolini. He came with this idea of fascism that was rooted in the idea that the nation, not the individual, was the central unit of society. It glorified the state and its leader as the embodiment of national will. So now I want to compare Mussolini and Adolf Hitler because they became friends at some point. Adolf Hitler was a Democrat at the beginning, but he had this ambition of world conquest. And gradually he drifted. There is a book I have been looking for some time. Luckily, in this my journey, I found a copy of the book. There was one I've also been looking for, though I found that copy last year. That book talked about Goebbels. They say you have a Goebbelian trait. Goebbels was like the Minister of Information under the Nazist Adolf Hitler. So the one I found recently is this book entitled Bad Faith, A Forgotten History of Family, Fatherland, and Vichy France. It's a book written by Kamel Khalil. Bad Faith tells the story of one of history's most despicable villains and con men called Louis Dicquer. He was a Nazi collaborator and a commissioner for Jewish affairs. He managed the Vichy government's dirty work, controlling its Jewish population. I have been looking for this book. I have found it. I have found it. Now, Mussolini's fascism can be likened to Adolf Hitler's Nazism in Germany. Is Tinubu in any way tending towards those tendencies? Are people being too hard on the president? That is why I'm going into depth to tell you what these terms means, because people are using them: fascism, sliding towards fascism, dictatorship. You see, fascism, Nazism are similar, but there are some differences. They are both authoritarian ideologies, and they emerged in the early 20th century with common elements such as extreme nationalism, militarism, the rejection of democracy, and the glorification of powerful centralized states. When there's no opposition, you are gradually moving towards a centralized state. That was one of the flaws of Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. He moved towards a one-party state. It was a problem in Kenya. Arab Moi, even Jomo Kenyatta, they moved towards a one-party state, dictatorship. Is Nigeria going to move towards a one-party state as the PDP suffers, as Labour Party suffers? Yes. Why both movements shared these principles, they also had significant differences in ideology, execution, and objectives. Is there any difference between the ideologies of PDP and APC? Do they have ideologies? Do they stand for anything? How can I define APC or PDP? Do they have content? That definitive content that says this is what differentiates APC from PDP, this is what differentiates Labour from PDP. Mussolini's fascism focused on Italian nationalism and reviving the glory of the Roman Empire. The ideology had a relatively less developed racial component than Nazism, though Mussolini later adopted some racist policies to align with Hitler. Adolf Hitler. Okay, let's take some calls. Remember, the concept is love, leadership. Let's take some calls. You can call me on WhatsApp 080 999 18449. That is 080 999 18449. You can look at the face of Mussolini on the screen. What does it look like? Politics and Power. History. Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Barrister Ijiruka.
Hello, Edmond. Good morning, Edmond.
I greet you, sir.
I hope you're having a wonderful time.
I'm good.
I say this subject you broached this morning. One of the reasons why I campaigned and prayed against the present president become president, one of the three principal reasons is that the potential for him becoming a dictator was there, very, very high. If a man is wealthy and has a lot of influence before he became president, and now you make him president, then that person becomes extremely powerful. That is one of the reasons why they never wanted Abiola to be president. But Abiola just was a different version from the current president because of his early years. Abiola was a much more mature soul spiritually. He couldn't have slid into dictatorship. But the president, the potential is there. But is this sliding towards the place? I'm not too sure. Not the irony of it is that if you go through your records, Edmond, the current president called Jonathan a fascist. It's in your, if you go through your, we call Jonathan a fascist. It's very funny. The gentlest dove, the man who never hunted down any political opponent, who never, there was no single political killing during his time as president. No single one. Never handed anybody to jail for dissent or whatever. He called him a fascist. And today he's been called a fascist. I didn't see conclusive evidence yet, but I know the potential is there. The problem of PDP is Atiku. Atiku is not a member of PDP in soul. Atiku is the reason why Wike is angry. Because Atiku in soul is a member of APC. APC and PDP may look similar, but they are not. They are not. There is a gulf between the two. The only reason people move from one to the other, it tends to give a false sense that they are not the same. They are not the same at all. It's a gulf. PDP is the best political party Nigeria ever had. Aside the regional parties, Action Group, MPC, and NCNC, the national party, the PDP is the best. The PDP really wanted to grow and develop Nigeria, put Nigeria on the path of progress and prosperity. But that terrible death of Yaradua was what upset the apple cart and the northern political elite. Very uncomfortable with seeing a southern Christian, Jonathan, becoming president, somebody who has no pedigree, quote and unquote, and they set up Boko Haram to bring down his government. They are the one who made it possible for the PDP to APC to rise. Now, I will advise the president, let me even say this again. Abacha would have been a good president for the North. Why was Abacha regarded today as an evil man? He cannot cope with pressure. He couldn't cope with criticism. Anybody who will make a social Nigerian president will be ready to cope with criticism. They will throw dash at you, throw the waste basket at you, throw everything at you. You must remain calm. You must never fall to the temptation to resort to strong arm tactics, repression, oppression. You must not. That is why Abacha failed. If Abacha had been president of Northern Nigeria, he would have been a huge success. But the criticism from the South that he must surrender Abiola's mandate, the voracious criticism, he lost his bearing. He became a bad man. Abacha in soul was not a bad man. It's a good one, but he couldn't stand his criticism. That is why he degenerated to be a bad man. The current president was led. He's going to be harassed as the suffering in the land goes on. He's going to be harassed. He's going to be abused. He's going to West Basket will be thrown at him. He must maintain his cool. If he loses his cool, then he will descend into be a dictatorship, and then the real crisis will begin. So my advice to him, like I said last week, he has been able to prove, arguably, that he's a political wizard. Because to plot your way from a nobody to the highest office in the land is no mean feat. But he's not an economic genius. You have to be a political wizard and an economic genius to repair the wreckage Buhari left behind. So my advice to the president, let him focus on the political. Let him use that his political wizardry to reorganize Nigeria back to regional government. And let every region go and sort themselves out. When you start regional government today, there will be more honesty.
All right.
There will be more transparency. There will be more truth among all the various groups. Good morning, Edmond.
Thank you.
Your discussion continue. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me say Jiruka.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You know, in 2014, Bola Ahmed Tinubu called President Goodluck Jonathan a fascist in 2014. Let me read part of Tinubu's statement against what was happening in Rivers State at that time. You know, Amechi versus Jonathan. Let me read a part of it. Tinubu said in his statement, the illegal conduct of the police in Rivers should be called what it is. It is uniform gangsters, a coup against democracy. Tinubu continues, the rights and the protection guaranteed to the Nigerian people should never be a function of the party they are affiliated with. Tinubu said in 2014, I quote him, under the current Jonathan government, we move towards fascism. I'll take more time to analyze Tinubu's 2014 statement. That will be in subsequent programs. Barrister Jiruka just talked about it. I just wanted to mention it. I'll take time to analyze some of Tinubu's statement. Is it that what goes around comes around? This fascism, why do they bandy it around? Fascism, fascist. The lines are open. Let me hear from you. 08039 18449. WhatsApp call 08039 18449. That's the number to call. I want to hear from you. Let me hear your voice. In this class of politics and power, is Tinubu tending towards authoritarianism? Is Tinubu moving towards dictatorship? Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Edmond.
I greet you.
Hello. It's Charles calling from Awolowo.
Charles, make your point.
Hello. Okay. So when you talk about dictatorship, when you talk about one-party state, Nigeria has always been a one-party state. Hello?
I'm listening.
Hello? Nigeria has always been a one-party state. There is no government in Nigeria that will allow criticism. There is nobody. There is nobody. Check even in America, they are always fighting democracy. But when one party enters, it tries to tarnish the image of the opponent. That is how it always happens. The former caller, hello, Edmond.
I'm listening to you.
Hello. Okay. The former caller came. He said Abacha could not take pressure or whatever he called it. There is nobody that is going to be on that seat that is going to be allowed, that is going to allow people to criticize him. There is nobody.
All right.
Because when you are there, you will try to tell people or tell the whole world that you are the best, even if you are doing wrong things. They say freedom of speech. There cannot be freedom of speech. Why? Because they will come, they will throw questions that you don't want to answer. There was one of your program that you said that the president of Kenya, Ruto, that the journalists that we are asking him questions, that the question they asked him, that if they asked Tinubu, that he will not be able to answer. Excuse me, you now say freedom of speech. So now, how does the country want to move forward? Let us go from that side. I hope you are listening.
All right.
Talk of the country wants.
You have made your point.
Okay.
Yeah, you have made your point. Let's hit the nail on the head so that other callers can join the discourse. Once you hit about 20 or 2 minutes now, I will call your attention to it. Because I can see a lot of persons wanting to call, many persons wanting to call here. Okay? Hello, good morning. That's DG Yusufu.
Hello.
Hello, DG.
Yeah, good morning, Edmond. Thank you for picking my call.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, so I wanted to make a comment on the fascist your discussion. Mussolini and Hitler are more or less personified it and they invented it. But fascism is something that is inherent in every human being. Okay, if you give a man his way, he wants to rule. He wants to portray the fact that it is only his own ideas that can make a system work. It is the people around him or the society that begins to tell him that no, you are not the only person in power. One of the reasons why the boys in 1966, January, struck was because they saw the fascist tendencies of the Southern of Sokoto. Okay, the person in somebody who was controlling Balewa from the north. So when they saw that, look, if we continue in this tendency, we're going to find a system where only one man is dictating the problem. And I must commend you, Edmond, for helping us, your listeners, to realize the tendency even in the present government, the government of Bola Tinubu, towards fascism. Okay, because everybody, like I said, everybody has a tendency to want to think his own ideas are the only one that will prevail. Now, the opposite of fascism is democracy. We have seen democratic, ethos in the US and in Britain. But I think British democracy is probably even the stronger one. Because you see, in Britain, you have plurality of parties vying for government. Now, the fact that only your ideas will prevail, they have a parliament where every power comes to defend every single idea it is bringing to the people. So that any idea that a government wants to put outside, they have they have it in mind that the opposition will come and curtail it. Okay, and perhaps I should just add that Nigeria degenerated into chaos in the First Republic because we couldn't handle opposition politics, the kind of politics that Obafemi Awolowo and others brought into power. Into government.
You see, Deji, your line is not too clear. So how
do we solve this fascism?
You see, Deji, your line is not too clear.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Yes, I want to let you go. Deji's line is not too sharp, but he has made some vital points. Okay, let's hit the nail on the head. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, Desmond. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. My name is Feyi Ijimakenwa. Good morning, Edmond.
Good to hear your voice, Mr. Feyi.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Edmond, it is very interesting the topic you have brought up this morning. But it's also important for us to recognize the fact, just like they just said, that fascism or the aspects of it is inherent in everyone. And the total opposite, the precise opposite of fascism would be democracy. But even democratic tendencies have variations. When the revolutions that swept through Central and Southern America and came, it produced people who wanted to free the states, but who ended up vesting absolute powers in themselves. The Castro, the Pinochet, the man in Argentina, name it. So at the end of the day, once power becomes, or power is colored as, we are the ones who have the solution, and it is not cooperative, that is where the problem begins to come in. The problem that we have in Nigeria is the fact that we always see that everybody wants to join the winning party. And joining the winning party means we want to ride free on the benevolence of the winning party. What do I mean by that? Once the party is in power, all the other attendants will just fall into place. Once the power, a particular power party is in power at the center, every other person will enjoy the benefits of that. But the thing is, at different level of governance, we do not, and I'm saying it, we do not probe intentions, we do not probe rightness. So a particular party can be at power or be in power at the center. Then on the other levels, at the state, nearer us at the grassroots, we should begin to probe. So that is how people rise from local level to national prominence. But in Nigeria, it is the reverse. People just want to get to the center and they attach to the center. So it cascades down. So that is why we end up having people who just feel, at the end of the day, number one thing is that the power should be made less attractive and less powerful. Once that happens, people begin to develop resources at different levels. Late Professor Akin Mabogun just said something. He said in 2018, he said we should begin to readdress our selection process, the process of picking leaders in this country. Once we need to address it again, because it is all about what you can get to put you in power. And it is not about what you can give. It is what you can get to put you in power. So people just bring all the money. Somebody comes and tells you, I want to get to the governor, to the state house. And somebody tells you, you should go and set aside 10 billion naira. So it becomes what you can get to put you there, but not about what you can give the people, convince the people, let the people know this is what I stand for. Until we begin to readdress, to check the process of selection of our leadership, we will always have absolute powers like we are having right now. And we've had them, whether you are talking Rwanda, whether you're talking of Museveni, whether you're talking Mugabe, whether you're talking Kamuzu Banda of the 60s, is even Kwame Nkrumah. It's always like that. They ride on revolutionary ideas, they get there, and they just want to vest all powers and all interest in themselves. And this we must check and address, so that element of fascism that you're talking about can be stringed out and eventually eliminated from our national politics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fee J. Makinwa. Thank you. I appreciate that analysis. That was deep. Thank you. Thank you for calling the radio station. Mr. Toya Brown, can you turn down the volume of your radio, sir?
Good morning, Edmond.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, because the other caller was still on, so I was still listening. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on. I think I've enjoyed this class so far this morning, even though I came a bit late to the class. Interesting, very good deliverable this morning. You have really delivered, to my. You've made my morning. About a few things, callers have said a lot of things. The three callers have said a lot of fascism and that. And even Barrister Juruka talked about which party is, The truth is that in Nigeria today, PDP is still one of the parties that, yes, forget about the idea of flowing from here and there and there. They came in from, they had that idea of, are we responsible? I think they tried to show some element of responsibility at the beginning. But that's not where I'm going, really. You talked about love this morning. And so I want to give you 4 quotations that have to do with love. And then maybe we'll draw a point from there. 1, let me start with Matabek. Matabek said, whosoever said love is blind is dead wrong. See, whoever said love is blind is dead wrong. Why? Love is the only thing that lets us see each other with the remotest accuracy. It is what makes us to know. The Bible says, love your neighbor as thyself. How do you do it? It is, showing it and going deeper into it. If you love yourself, you should be able to love your neighbor. And if we love our neighbor, would there be war? Would there be fight? Would there be thuggery? There will be none of those things. Because my neighbor will say, oh, I love my neighbor. I love my... And so there will be peace. There will be harmony. So Matabek has said that. And secondly, see goodness in others. Love more persons, more impersonally, more unselfishly, without thought of return. The return, never fear, will take care of itself at the end. Who said that? Henry Drummond. He talked about love because you mentioned love this morning too early and I was interested about it. And Pat Mitchell said, everyone needs and deserves love and happiness. Let's not wait until we are perfect to go give it or find it. You talked about a driver, if you're driving, if you stop and say, come on, can you join the road? Oh, that's beautiful. But how do you achieve that in a society where people are so hungry and angry? In a society where we woke up this morning, how am I going to feed my family? We are concerned about it before we think of how do I extend this love to the other. And that's why we have to run a good economy. I am so surprised that things I'm seeing happening today, I've never expected it to happen when President Tinubu, or that then, I made Tinubu become a president of this country. Because I knew the role he played, that he has today, how to drift into, what people are saying, fascism. He's drifting into it. Because how do you start arresting these people when you are an architect of protests in this country? And now you see protests as, they want to, it's a treasonable felony. I don't believe it. And how do we move forward? We said we have to restructure this country. So the last caller said, you make the center, the authority less powerful. How do you make it? Than to dismantle this centralized system of governance. Put power to those who can manage it. Let the regions mind it. If I'm in the Southwest and I know I have to manage my people, we will make a budget how we are going to spend our budget. What kind of project are we going to carry out? How do we look at the education? How do we look at the health? How do we, these are things. And this was what was happening before 1966 or 67. The West was growing. It was competitive. The North were with their granite pyramid. The South were with their palm oil. And the West was with their cocoa. And things were happening. People were growing. So I will say, the petrodollar is in the Niger Delta. And we jettison all that. We created 12 states of the Federation. Today with 36 unviable states. All right. And I want to end by saying, one of the best parts of being a family is that you can encourage one another, you can believe in one another, you can affirm one another. Stephen Covey, have a great morning. Thank you, the radio man.
Thank you for calling the radio station.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
He was detained, obviously, because he was released the same day. So he was detained, obviously, because they didn't want him to have the opportunity to go and address an international audience to expose the repression that is going on in Nigeria. Unprecedented repression. I can say authoritatively that not even in many cases, except in very few cases, which involved President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was also charged for treason. In many other cases, the military regimes did not charge us, with treason. Military regimes did not charge us when we were protesting with terrorism. In other words, this regime is worse than military dictatorship, because the only difference between military dictatorship and democracy is freedom, is the right to enjoy fundamental freedoms. When the freedom of expression is taken away, when the freedom of action is taken away, what remains is enslavement. And then the protesters are not being charged with offenses that carry death penalty. So this regime, from the charges, in the court against peaceful protesters, is worse than military dictatorship. And we call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to withdraw those charges.
Here we go.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
I come before you also to declare that our most important work remains before us. The real test has never been whether we will rise to the challenge, the sling of misfortune and grievous pains of dictatorship. The real test is whether we shall lower our guards and fail to defend democracy as the shadow of despotism and its evident physical danger fade.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
You heard President Bola Tinubu there saying he would defend democracy. And Femi Aborishade says that his government is worse than a military dictatorship. Let's look at Adolf Hitler's Nazism. Hitler's Nazism emerged from the ashes of post-World War I Germany, deeply influenced by the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed severe economic and territorial punishment on Germany. Take note, when there is economic hardship, when there is severe economic hardship that can lead to uprising, the political leadership tends towards dictatorship if not checked. Germany saw economic hardship and the people wanted a messiah. So the Hitler movement began as a radical nationalist response to what was perceived as Germany's unjust treatment by the victors of World War I. You know, Mr. Fee J. Makinwa made a point that they come in as radicals, they come in as Democrats, and they change the system. We've seen that in South America. Is Tinubu tending towards fascism? Will Tinubu become a fascist? Why did Tinubu call Jonathan a fascist? Nazism was a form of fascism, but with a strong emphasis on racial purity and superiority of the Aryan race. Nazism was deeply anti-Semitic and based on a biological understanding of race, which claimed that certain races were inherently superior to others. That is why Hitler wanted to conquer the world. What was he going to do with Africa if he had conquered the world? You saw what he did to the Jews in Germany? The Jews in Europe, more than 6 million Jews were killed in what is known as the Holocaust. Will Tinubu get to that level? You see, as we speak, there is this huge dichotomy in the discourse, especially on social media, between the Igbo and the Yoruba. How did he become so intense under the Tinubu leadership? Is Tinubu managing the situation very well, or is keen into the disagreement? Yes. Are you there? In this class of history, politics, and power, Nazism focused on racial ideology, particularly anti-Semitism, like I said, and the need to rid Germany and Europe of Jews, whom Hitler blamed for Germany's problems. You know, the Jews in Germany were like the Igbos. Take note of this point. In Germany, the Jews were a minority, but they were like they controlled the economy to some extent. They were enterprising, they were innovative. They were knowledgeable, they were doctors, they were hardworking, they had money. And before you knew it, some politicians began to instigate Germans against the Jews. And some of these Jews were Germans. It started gradually. It started like a joke. You know, they began to attack their businesses. They began to attack them in political positions. They began to attack their children in schools. That is why when these things start, men of goodwill must begin to speak, because when it snowballs, it becomes a bigger problem that we don't know where it will lead. And politicians will start these things. Those who are not knowledgeable enough will key into it, all in the name of tribalism. It does not pay to anyone. Germans paid for what Hitler did. The Jews also paid. It led to a world war. But it started with the harassment of Jews. They were attacking their businesses. Before you knew it, it moved from Germany to Poland, from Poland to France. We must be very careful. That is why love must reign. We must have leaders imbued with love, not tribal leaders who instigate unnecessary conflicts among their peoples. No? That was what Nazism represented. You know, Benito Mussolini also now got that same tendency. He became a racial person. Germans were now feeling superior. Germany wanted to conquer France. In fact, they conquered France for some time, part of France. That's what we call the Vichy leadership. That's why I wanted to know the role that was played by this guy who was brutal. I have read so much about him that I wanted details. Louis the Choir. And you have some people who are playing that role in the Nigerian state of the moment. We must check them. Men of goodwill must check them. I'll be going for a break soon because I want to catch my breath. But in the case, you can look at the face of Hitler. Can you see him? Hitler. Read about him. If you are interested in political leadership, you need to begin to read. To read is to also imbibe certain spirits that will lead to love. Poverty is a product of hate. It's not really an economic problem. The first problem that leads to poverty is hate. When leaders hate their people, they steal resources that they will use to develop them. See, Africa still remains poor. If you look at the national budget, you see it does not reflect on the people's well-being. See the National Assembly members, even the local government chairman. What can they do? You know, people are celebrating. Local government will be fine. Yes, they will do one or two things. But they will also be consumed by the general character of the state. You see, EFCC will deal with them. Has EFCC be able to deal with Yaya Bello? Yaya Bello. You know, it tells you the hate in the state. A state of love will not produce a Yaya Bello. It will handle Yaya Bello with ease. But because of the corruption in the system, you can see it is like the state against Yaya Bello. EFCC want to capture Yaya. It's a product of hate. So that is why They are being likened to fascists and narcissists. The tendency, let's be careful. If you can find this book, Bad Fate, A Forgotten History of Family, Fatherland, and Vichy France, get it and read. It's a good book, but we don't have it on odarabooks.com. So I'll be back after this break. Let's reflect on what we have heard. And when I come back, I also want to look at an example of a leadership imbued with love. Okay? Of an example of a leadership of love. Love answereth all things. Okay, when they say love is blind, it's an idiomatic expression. It's not that it's blind that he cannot see. Mr. Tony Brown. My love can see. I love Mr. Tony Brown. Barrister Ijeruka. I love you. Yeah, I do. I love you listening to me. Yes, I do. You matter so much to me. I know whenever I'm coming to talk to you, I say, what do I say to a member of the class that I love dearly? I wish you well all the time. Many times, I tell myself in my moment of reflection, may love never leave me. Hello, President Tinubu. I love you. I do. Shey Makinde, you know I love you. Femi Aborishade, I am in love with you. I do. Chibayo Akonde, I love you dearly. Bosun, you can see me, right? Bosun, I love you. Let's spread love. Love in the family. Love on the road. Love at work. We can build a beautiful life for all. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. I am Edmond Obilo. Don't go away.
I come before you also to declare that our most important work remains before us. The real test has never been whether we will rise to the challenge, the sling of misfortune, and grievous pains of dictatorship. The real test is whether we shall lower our guards and fail to defend democracy as the shadow of despotism and its evident physical danger fade.
Here we go.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
So, Comrade Femi Aborishade, in recent time, the federal government of Nigeria has been on the case of the NLC president. What do you think is going on? Is there something that Nigerians don't understand that the federal government understands? Because at some point, the federal government had to declare wanted Drupove. And it seems that the case with Drupove is also the case with the NLC president. Can you let us into what you know about this subject?
Well, I can only attempt an interpretation of what is unfolding. It is only President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his government that can tell us what they know. But I can interpret, in my own opinion, the allegations of terrorism financing made against Drupove and for which the president of the NLC was also written terrorism financing and treason. These are nothing but trumped up allegations being made with a view to perpetrating the culture of silence. It's part of the strategy, in my opinion, to perpetrate the culture of silence, to keep opposition silent, to weaken opposition. It's part of the strategy of government to intimidate and terrorize opposition so that they will not be able to organize and resist the perennially increasing fuel price, the continuous devaluation of the currency, the attacks on the purchasing power of the working people, and of course, government does not want to implement the national minimum wage. So it's part and parcel of a strategy to intimidate civil society, and particularly the trade unions. I can tell you.
Here we go.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Hello. How are you? Are you enjoying the class? Okay. Oh, I wanted to pick this call That caller has been on. Okay, it's still on. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, Edmond, good morning. Thank you for the love. The love is real. The love is obvious for humanity, Nigerians. We appreciate and we feel the love. Edmond, I want you to mark today's class or broadcast. It's a bit prophetic. Time will tell. I won't say more than that, but like I said, it's prophetic. I want to quickly respond to the what we have before us about fascism and one-party state. It is very common in a presidential system because remember one king once said he's a state. I think the Louis of France or something, a former French king, he said he was a state. So fascism is common or is prevalent or more prevalent in a presidential system than a parliamentary. You don't hear such in countries where where you have a prime minister. You don't seem to occur. There's always a checkmating of the excesses of the very powerful president. In fact, a political analysis has it that the Nigerian president is the most politically powerful president in the world. So that is that. So it's a problem. Maybe it's a kind of system. And check in Africa where fascism was largely recorded. They were all presidents, and that was a problem for the people. Another thing we must bear in mind again is that on the average, since we're Africans and we belong to Africa, and we are Nigerians and we speak as Nigerians, it is on the average, we Nigerians or even Africans are not democratic. We don't like to share. We don't like you said, we don't like to love ourselves. We don't want the other person to rise. We want to see that the opposition is crushed. We want to see that if when we are criticized, that we are not in line with what we are doing. So, but we should check it out because the current government or system is tending toward that way. And except we begin to rise and respond to these excesses, it might not augur well for the nation called Nigeria. Thank you for the love once more. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for calling the radio station. Thank you. Okay, I'll still take some calls. Do I have that time? Okay. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. It is about the state. It's about love. It's about building a country for all, for the common good. Yes, we can. We can build a country for the common good. The theme of this program is lightening the way, love, leadership, and national renewal. Remember, this program is about the mind. So when we say radio has just gone deeper, we are going deeper into the mind. It's not just a radio program. It's a program for redemption. It's a class for depth. Okay, Abeza Charles Obina, I'll give you the chance. Hello, Charles.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Hello, Charles.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Edmond.
Yes, good morning. Hit the nail on the head.
The topic this morning, I really love it. We're talking about love and opposition. I think the current administration is actually stifling the opposition party, which I don't think is a sign of love, because if the administration is really after the good of the society, they will be inspired by love to look for every means to get it right. And that is the essence of opposition. Because opposition would make you see your excesses. Opposition would make you see the things you are not getting right, and you get them right. But by the time you stifle them, you discover that your own ideas are too myopic to lift the society up. So you need opposition. So the current administration to take that into cognizance. it is not a right way to go. It is not a proper way to go. If they are really inspired by love to lift the society, they have to listen to the opposition. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abeza Charles Obina. You see, Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa, spent 27 years in prison under the brutal apartheid regime. When he was released, he could have led his people with a heart full of anger and vengeance. Instead, Mandela chose love, not only for the oppressed, but also for the oppressors. His ability to forgive, to empathize with those who persecuted him, and to seek reconciliation over revenge led South Africa towards healing and racial unity. Through Mandela's famous philosophy of Ubuntu, can you see the word Ubuntu? I recommend a book called Ubuntu to you. It's a book about love. You need to read that book. You need to have that book. I travel everywhere I go with my own copy. There are certain books I travel with. Anywhere I go, I have a bag of special books. I read them. They're like my Bibles. I also have the Bible. The Bible goes with me everywhere. Read that book, Ubuntu. I have copies. It's a good book. Quality print. The print is so good. It's a book that when you hold it, you protect it. Quality print. Quality message. Simple to read. Those are kind of books that will refresh your mind. The book is not this about getting rich. It's about how you live a life and you become a conqueror. I mean, your life brings progress wherever you go. You become light. You become peace. You become wealth. And it depends on what wealth means to you. So the book of the day is the book Ubuntu. You can get it through me. You can send me a message on WhatsApp, on my WhatsApp number. Ubuntu. You need to have that book. It's like a Bible. It is about the Ubuntu philosophy. So contact me on 080-999-18449 if you want to read that book, Ubuntu. It's not that cheap, though. Such a book should not be cheap because the print alone, it's a quality print. It's one of the best books we have in our store in terms of the quality of the print. So when that quality, so it is meant for those who value knowledge and peace and love. Some persons will say we don't have money. Live a life of saying, I want to make money to live a comfortable life. Because I see people who come to complain with me, their mindset will make them remain in poverty. That's not to say that I don't understand that the state has been constructed to impoverish its people. And with the spirit of love, we have the clarity of mind to redefine the state. Watch out when you are called upon. Enlist. Nigeria is too rich to be poor. Africa is endowed. It is the richest continent in the world in terms of human and material resources. But we've not been able to harness our potential because of our mindset. That time is over. We are coming. All over Africa. It will come like a tsunami. It is not revolution. No. It is about that knowledge system that will seep through the minds of the African. Watch out. Mandela's philosophy of Ubuntu, the belief that humanity is interconnected and that one cannot fully exist in isolation. Mandela emphasized the need for love and understanding in leadership. He knew that hate would destroy the nation, but love would light the way towards lasting renewal. Under his guidance, South Africa avoided what could have been a bloody civil war and began its journey towards becoming a more inclusive and just society. That is the power of love. Let love reign from Zamfara to Imo. Let love reign. Let it reign among the children of the family. Let love reign. Show love. Tell your wife you love him. Tell your wife you love her. Tell your husband you love him. Don't just say it, feel it. Remove the burdens from your heart that we allow love live. Love. Love is beautiful. It is our mind. It's our ability to stir up new thinking to bet a state of love. Such thinking is not wishful, but a product of a calculated steps to make the state a means of attaining sustainable progress for the people. The Singapore example suffices. It is an example of how the mind determines the direction of the leadership. I am talking of a kind of leadership that breaks the limitations of tribe, religion, and poverty. It is a system propelled by a worldview of self-belief and determination. That is what Linkwayu represents. So this class is a lesson in prudent leadership, an example of an extraordinary personality. He was the father of Singapore. He is still the father of Singapore in death. Linkwayu led the emergence of a nation state by substituting resources and discipline. He brought brilliance, innovation, and superior intelligence. Lee took Singapore, by far the smallest country in Southeast Asia, from poverty, third word, to posterity, first word. In his book, he says, we cannot afford to forget that public order, personal security, economic and social progress, and prosperity are not the natural order of things, that they depend on ceaseless effort and attention from an honest and effective government that the people must elect. Biola Adeoye is looking at political power as a tool for visionary leadership and sustainable prosperity for the people. So I needed to ask him, what does he think about Singapore? This is our discussion. Biola Adeoye on state affairs. In the course of this interview, you've talked about making your state a first-class economy. You've talked about Singapore. Why Singapore?
When you look at the uniqueness of Singapore within the Malaysian construct and where they're coming from and what they've achieved, Singapore is a country that's not blessed with the resources that even their neighbors, Malaysia, has. They don't have the oil. And how did they make a journey from being a disadvantaged, almost expunged country from the Malaysian construct to be one of the Asian tigers? It was because there were certain truths they told themselves. First of all, in Singapore, they decided that corruption will not have a place in governance and in government. If you will not serve the common good of the people, you have no place. And corruption thrives in lack of transparency. Where there's no transparency or accountability, then a lot of things happen. But what did they do? They looked at themselves. Now, when you consider how much refining they do without a drop of oil in their own natural resources, at the time where they made the mileage, several decades later, they've created something for themselves. So I'm looking at us as, or your state, for instance, not necessarily being blessed with oil, for instance, which is a mainstay still now of the Nigerian economy, but having so many other opportunities where if we are nested and we used our best resources thinking to then find where we can have the comparative advantage, what we can start to do today, not something esoteric, what we can start doing today to make our lot better, then we can make that mileage. In the world today, food is still important. People are saying, oh, there's hunger in the land. How can there be hunger in the land? We have, this is grass here. Just dig the ground, put a seed of corn, you see it grow. So when you have something in your hands to do and you don't do it, who are you to blame? I believe the history, our future will be written by us thinking, visioning, okay, but beyond that visioning, executing it intentionally with as much doggedness as you would put in any of the businesses that you do for yourself. It's not, we cannot have the worst of us lead the most of us while the best of us are sitting somewhere we're complaining. No, I think we need to take our fate into our hands and be serious about our development, be serious about our growth.
In the case of Singapore, we cannot run away from the visionary leadership of Lee Kuan Yew. So what role does visionary leadership play in the development of society?
Lee Kuan Yew has now become an icon globally in terms of moving from being third world to being first world. And the visionary must have a bug biting them, almost a restlessness. Sometimes it's out of this world, as it were, seeing where the people could be, and at a lot of personal discomfort, personal sacrifice, determined to take the people from where they are to where they should be. And it's not leading from the rear or from a commentary box or from an armchair. You lead from the front. You lead the charge. There's no guarantee that you will ultimately be the one to be there at that time, but that doesn't stop the visionary. So the vision, for instance, of a Singapore where other people will comment about them, learn from them. I remember as a child, my dad went for this international leadership. That was in 1988 in Singapore. So as far back as 1988, leadership development was already the story for the world. It was, I believe, the Aga Institute then, doing leadership trainings, and the venue was Singapore, because that's where you can actually see the mileage they were making. We've been on our journey. We might have lost our way. The visionary must be able to stay the course. Sometimes the people you're leading and creating a strategy for and leading and visioning do not understand the journey you're on. That's where being dogged, being determined, and not caring for yourself personally, those sacrifices have to be made, because it's in retrospect that they would appreciate this was the direction and we're in a better place.
Here we go.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Yes, thank you for being there. The book of the day is entitled Everyday Ubuntu. Living Better Together, The African Way. That is the title of the book. Everyday Ubuntu. Living Better Together, The African Way. A book written by Mungi Ngomane. Mungi Ngomane. It's a classic. You can get your copy on udarabooks.com. You can go on udarabooks.com and get your copy. Or you can get your copy through my WhatsApp number. Just chat me up. Just say, I want to order this book. Everyday Ubuntu. It's a lovely book. It will change and deepen your mind. Africa is coming. Let love reign. Let love reign in Ibadan. Love. Love is the pillar of development. My WhatsApp number is 080-309-18449. 080-309-18449. Solaro, I love you. Tunde Olawo, I love you. Michael Olatubosun, you are loved. Koe Ladele is gone. My love remains. Yes, let love reign in our schools on the road. Are you a policeman listening to me? I love you. I love you, police. Don't worry. In the days to come, your uniform will be so neat. You'll be well paid and you will love your job. You'll become our friends. Police, I appreciate the work you do. Are you a member of the Nigerian Army? I love you. Everything good will come. I am Edmondo Pillow. Next week is another time on State Affairs. The next program is Ijoba Ibile with Abiodun Adewale. Thank you for listening.